The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, Brecon Farms, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Stonewall Stud, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge, Addington and Ashburton, Garrard's Horse and Hound, and IRT. It's your horse and our passion. Hi everyone, welcome into another edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by your stable of sponsors and by the NZTAB, who make a remarkable contribution each and every week, providing us with the studios to record the show and then of course playing it out via the trackside medium. Michael Guerin, the barometer goes up a notch this week because we have a serious race meeting at Addington.
We actually have two, Greg. I think that this is the strongest Friday night of harness racing for the entire season. Now, we don't have a lot of massive Friday nights where both venues are in play to quite this level. Alexandra Park's got a really good meeting, a strong meeting, which if it stood alone, Greg, you'd be like, hey, I'm looking forward to this. Addington Friday night almost feels like the good old days. Huge fields, apart from the main pace. Really strong betting races, Greg, and I think a lot of wars to be decided, including maybe who's our best open class pacer. We think it's self-assured, but there's a good race this week. It leads into the Easter Cup, and that 3-year-old division, Greg, has a lot of moving parts. This is going to be fantastic Friday on Trackside 1 on Friday night.
Yeah, can't wait for it, Michael. We're going to get right into the preview and start with Pace and Pride, who of course won this race, the Ian Dobson Classic for the 3-year-olds, automatic entry into the Diamond Creek New Zealand Derby. In front again, Ragazzo Mac having a decent crack. Here's Matthew Cross and then post-race comments.
Ragazzo Mac and Dashing Major, Pace and Pride a half Ragazzo Mac. It's Pace and Pride holding off Ragazzo Mac. Pace and Pride beats Ragazzo Mac, the margin of neck. Third, Dashing Major. Fourth in Arden's Ace, then got you covered.
Well, that was super professional, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, Greg. He's really coming to it. It's credit to the horse. He's had a few hard runs, but he's sort of learning to suck it up a little bit now. And condition-wise, he's just carrying it a lot better and coming through his runs well. And like you say, the last 2 runs, I've just driven him how he's felt and how he's worked. And you've seen the results tonight again. It's just a pleasure to sit behind him.
Was the key to that race getting in front of Ragazzo Mac?
Yeah, I think so. The way it kept taking ground off me late, I don't think I would have wanted him too much closer to me turning in. Like you say, he sort of got to him, but I was holding him. But credit to Nathan's colt on a quick quarter, he made up a lot of ground.
Another excellent performance.
Yeah, wrap with him, Greg. He went real nice. He hit the line hard, and he's had a wee blow, so I think he'll be better for next week.
And that was always the plan, into the Vero and then obviously the Derby. So on that performance, there's no reason for his stocks to be dropping anyway.
No. Well, I was really happy with him. I thought he was right up to the mark tonight, and I was still really pleased with the way he went. But, I'd like to think with natural improvement and a wee bit more racing, he's got the Vero next week and the Derby in a fortnight. He should be, right at his top. There'll be no excuses then.
So Pace and Pride had the advantage there, Michael, of the barrier draw. He actually went a couple of seconds slower mile rate time compared to what he did a fortnight earlier, but clearly on the markers, he can run time. I thought Ragazzo Mac was excellent. He was wide for the first half of the race, got to park, then got some cover. Speaking with Nathan after that interview too, he felt that if he had been parked out, he might have even gone closer to beating Pace and Pride, which will give backers of him to win that Derby even more confidence. But those two both really good going forward, and looking forward to seeing them clashing this week, although Pace and Pride's been cruelled by the draw a wee bit.
Yeah, I think he's developing into a horse who, as Tim mentioned there, he had a couple of hard runs and he's actually learnt from them, and they start to learn to dig a bit deeper and they get used to that lactic acid build-up, and therefore the pain of that doesn't bother them as much. So I think he was a horse who was just a bit mentally weak and maybe physically weak, and now he's strengthened into that nice zone of being one of 6 or 8 contenders for the Derby. Probably can't win this week from a second line draw. As we look at the field for the Vero, Greg, very strong, and that's 4, 5 and 6 barrier draw numbers, and then a horse like Luke John, who we're not sure how much he might improve even in a bigger stable. So I think it's a fascinating race, and it's going to tell us a lot about the Derby heading forward, in saying that if Krug was to come out and win this week, Greg, sounds good. He draws the second line of the Derby, he still goes around $5. So I think there's so little between these horses, Greg. This week's important, but it's a Derby pointer. The barrier draws may be even more important.
Yeah, so $2.90 about Krug, $4.20 for It's All About Faith, $3.50 Ragazzo Mac, 8.50 Pace and Pride, 9.50 Luke John, and of course BD Joe's there. And we're going to hear from Steve Telfer a little bit later on in the show and get a bit more of an insight into the Stonewall Stud operation. Widest draw for him won't help him, but gee, that's going to be one heck of a contest. 3-year-olds, trotting wise, 5 wise men has got himself to the top of the tree. Another stunning performance from him. Here is his effort at Addington Raceway, and we'll hear from John Dunn post-race.
2 lengths, time up the hill, then Son of Patrick, Love in the Porter, 100 metres to go. 5 wise men, he's asserting his authority as the best 3-year-old trotting gelding in the land of New Zealand, and he wins it by a length on time up the hill. 3rd in Son of Patrick, 4th to go by Love in the Porter.
Johnny just keeps raising the bar.
Going really good in the right direction at the right time, like Ashburton was great. Got a lovely trip, one run at them, and then today make a move mid-race and sort of just nice and relaxed down the back and went when I asked him. So yeah, he's doing the real package, so that's pleasing.
Yeah, that's going to stand to him considering you step up to the 2,600 metres when you go around in the Derby.
Yeah, it will actually, so hope he can just stay nice and relaxed the way he is, and we're looking forward to it.
Brilliant performance from him, Michael. That move to get to parked, he relaxes. He's too strong for them. He's $2.50 to win that trotting derby. Let's have a look at the market for that. $2.50 him, Lee Stride, Lovin' the Port, Wanna Play With Me, all around $9, Regular Tyre $11. Time Up the Hill, we'll talk about the Oaks in a moment, $11. Bit of Muscle had a gallop, $13 when fresh up, and Mexicana also takes her place in the Oaks, but he's just the best of them at the moment, isn't he?
He is. He seems to be very strong, Greg. He seems to be trotting nice and squarely, and he doesn't have that thing where he's hitching his gait at any stage. He doesn't seem to be weak after the line. So he's a horse who I think's benefited, Greg, by the fact that he didn't have to race at that really tricky changeover period last year between September and October, when our 2-year-old trotters were racing in 2-year-old trotting races, even though they were 3, and then they switched over to becoming 3-year-olds basically in the case of a week. A lot of horses raced there who looked okay, but we said way back when that was happening, a lot of room to move in this crop. Missing that was good for him. I think he would have been in the paddock and getting stronger and learning how to trot. He's now arrived when some of those horses are a little bit topsy-turvy. I don't think it's a strong crop at the moment. I think there's lots of really good horses in it, but I think the season being so discombobulated left some of them a bit out of play, Greg. So he'll probably win the Derby. It's really hard to make a case for something to beat him in the Derby. But again, I don't see him being a season back-end dominator for the Jewels and for the races at Alexandra Park, because he's going to need to learn some new tricks too. But impossible for me, Greg, to back against him in the Derby at this stage, because I've seen nothing to suggest it's going to run past him.
The old discombobulated, eh? We haven't
back.
heard that for a wee while. It's
back,
back.
Gregory.
Welcome back. Yeah, nice to have it back too, Michael. The What the Hill Trotting Oaks, out of that video, of course, outstanding performance it was from the runner-up, which of course is Time Up the Hill. We expect her to go very close in this. Want to play with me? Where's she at the moment?
Look, I think it's a really interesting Oaks market. I think there's only 3 winning chances, and that's not being disrespectful because others can win, but I'm talking if you want to have a punt. I think Want to Play With Me's been okay last week. It loomed up at the 200 and sort of kept coming, but it didn't really make any real ground. I think they've underpriced it in the market, Greg. They've got it $3.10 each of 2 with Time Up the Hill, and I think Time Up the Hill's clearly been going better, both at Ashburton and in that race last week. I don't think the barrier draws matter that much, because the top 3, Mexicana being the other one, Greg, they'll all go forward at the start. And most of this field isn't good enough to get in their way, so a lot of the others will just simply drop back and take their places. So those top 3 will be round about the leading 4 or 5. I can't make a case that Want to Play With Me deserves to be the same price as Time Up the Hill, even though 3 starts ago she sat parked outside her and beat her. So for me, I'm pricing her as a no at 3.1. That which means Time Up the Hill is clearly a yes. A Mexicana's out to $5 as we record this. That's very good money, because she went to Alexandra Park last time out, needed the run, off 20 metres, ran past Son of Patrick, who in that race there has been pretty much as good as Time Up the Hill type thing. So Mexicana should improve, and I think this is a really good split bet race. I know Kiwis don't like this sort of stuff, but that's how you make money. you can spend your 100 units, and your units might only be $1, your units might be $10 total, so therefore you can divide it down. You could have 6 units on Mexicana and 4 on Time Up the Hill, or the other way around. And I think you give yourself 2 really good chances, taking into account, of course, Want to Play With Me could beat you, but I think she's underpriced, so I'm willing to put her to the side.
All right, yep, good education there in terms of how to make some money out of the What the Hill Trotting Oaks. Also, Out of My Way starts in race number 1 going forward to that Derby's about a $21 chance. And back to the paces, Shan Noble and First Class go around in race number 2, just showing you the undercard on Friday night at Addington is also very strong. So look forward to the 19th running of the Trotting Oaks and, of course, an opportunity for the family, Time Up the Hill being Out of Majestic Time, who won this race back in 2014, so looking to emulate what her mother was able to achieve. The feature pace from last week at Addington Raceway was taken out again. It's a little bit like deja vu by Henry Hubert, who was excellent, missing away, Michael, ended up getting a lovely run in the 1-1, came out, did this comfortably again. We'll hear from Tim Williams to wrap it up.
Push to the lead here. Burlington tried to go with him from AG's White Sox, 100 to go. Henry Hubert leads. Tango Tara late. AG's White Sox wider out, but Henry Hubert, he's won again. Henry Hubert 2 lengths. I think Tango Tara might have just got second ahead of AG's White Sox.
Well, his confidence levels are just sky high.
Mine aren't. Hands let me down the last 2 starts, Greg. But you know, credit to the horse, he recovered well. I think he just wanted to go a little bit quick early. He just missed that first step. But you know, got a great run afterwards, and you know, felt terrific during the running. And I think the tempo of the race just suited him. And you know, credit to the team, they had him spot on. He sort of half switched off the last little bit, but like you say, they run great time again.
He's just racing great, isn't he, Henry Hubert? He's in terrific form. Michael, yeah, he even gave them a bit of a start there by missing away, but he was very good to the line. Tango Tara's in an undercard race this week. AG's White Sox takes its place in the Leithfield Station Wines free-for-all. The old Alan Matson it is, Michael. There's been about 60 of these in the past, and this race has been shifted around a little bit. Watch Me Now's there, hasn't made her way to the States yet. She'll be in the care of Steve Dolan, so it'll be interesting to see how she goes. And the 3 big guns, Self Assured, Spankum, Amazing Dream. This will be an intriguing battle. Favouritism is with Spankum at $2.60.
Just going back to that race, Henry Hubert's doing a super job, and he's a factor in any race. But then you ask yourself, well, where does he sit with the big 3? And the big 3 now being joined by Amazing Dream, Spankum and Self Assured, of course. He can probably beat 1 or 2 of those horses home when they all race each other, but can he beat all 3? Probably unlikely, to be honest. So he's a very good open class horse, but a secondary 50 to 100,000 class race winning. Whereas, is he going to win a $250,000 race? Maybe not. Self Assured obviously does that for a job. That's what he does. He's won a New Zealand Cup and an Auckland Cup and a bunch of other races. He should probably be the favourite here, Greg, but you've got a trial for us to watch of Spankum, and I think that's the key indicator in the market is this trial last week at Rangiora. And Greg, when you saw this, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought Spankum was good. That's him widest on the track. In the centre, Self Assured and Amazing Dream through on the inside. But Spankum, they're all pretty hard held, Michael, and it was a nice trial. The overall time was 2:31.9, I think it was, home in 57.28. It was a bit of a really inclement day in terms of the weather, and we'll see that when we have a look at Sunday's Sun winning there. But they look all pretty much up to the mark. This is not their grand final. Obviously, the Easter Cup next week will be. Where they land in this race, Michael, will be of most interest for mine, because any one of the big 3 lands in front, then I want to be on that.
Yeah, I think Amazing Dream's the least likely of them to land in front. The tactics on Watch Me Now will be interesting to see what she does. AG's White Sox has fitness superiority over these horses, and he does have really high gate speed. This will be a great week to blast forward with him. Where that puts Self Assured and Spankum's really interesting. They settle 4th and 5th. I don't want to back either of them, even though they could win. One of them blasts across to lead, and I want to be on it. So really interesting race. One of those races where I wish we had somebody on track who could talk to the connections and say, what are you going to do here, here and here? But I will try and do that for either Harness Racing New Zealand or the Herald, or both, and try and find that stuff out, because that's crucial What's the situation with drivers, Greg? Have you had a chance to talk to Hayden Cullen? I've deliberately left him alone this week because the young man's got so much going on. But we've got last start drivers registered for some of these horses. So it's got Natalie Rasmussen down on HRNZ to drive Spankham. I doubt she's going to be driving Spankham.
Yeah, they haven't been confirmed, obviously, at the time of us recording this, but she is driving on the Wednesday afternoon meeting at Addington Raceway, which would indicate she's back driving. So, yeah, I would think she'd be there Friday night.
Okay.
And, yeah, at this stage,
that's an interesting change, Greg. It's interesting. It's hard to work
dynamic,
out.
yeah.
It's also hard to work out, like, if Nat hasn't driven in a race for 2 months. She's a great driver, but it's a tricky thing for punters to work out. It's an unusual time because if you were in the galloping code and you said Opie Bosson hadn't ridden for 2 months and he was jumping on a horse, you'd be like, that's less than ideal. I don't think it's going to be a big factor. As you said, she's driving on Wednesday, so maybe getting her eye in, but tactics and the driver's aggressiveness and attitude absolutely crucial to this race.
Yeah, we're very lucky to get the bookies getting these markets out when the drivers aren't confirmed either because, as you say, it does play a rather big part. Do you think Friday night's going to be a big night? Well, so far we've previewed some pretty serious races. The next one is outstanding, the 4 and 5-year-old championship. Let's have a look at last week and see where Midnight Dash came from. That's him 4 back on the fence. They don't often win from basically last at Addington Raceway coming up the inside, but this horse was able to, and we'll hear from co-trainer Greg Hope post-race.
Coming quickly, Vacation Hill, Midnight Dash. Oh, it was a gutsy drive from Ben Hope, but it's worked out. Midnight Dash won it. Beat Vacation Hill, third heavyweight hero, I think, just ahead of Splash Cola and Press the Bell.
Greg, we know the depth of the 4-year-olds this season, but he's just a trotter in great form.
Yeah, amazing, really. You know, it's considering we think we've got one at home better, but I don't like to be saying that now, really. He's stepped up. He just keeps on stepping up.
Look, he was given Vacation Hill a reasonable sort of start turning in, but she's no slouch, and he just picked her up and dropped her.
Yeah, it was played into his hands when they went really hard. He loves the speed on. That's why I put him in the Dominion. We knew he'd follow speed all day, and yeah, the harder they go, the better it suits him, you know. He has got a great turn of foot, but for some reason he's just a great stay-on-me horse, you know.
Greg, what's the plan over the next month? You can't start in every dance, and there's still a fairly big season ahead.
Yeah, there's the 100,000, he'll have a go at that, and I think there's a 30 to the 4 and 5-year-old champs that used to be. I think so he'll have a couple of cracks at that. We're probably leaning not to go to Auckland, probably go to Cambridge, I think. Just I think that'll be the plan of attack, really. You know, he's a funny wee horse. He takes a while to settle in when he travels anywhere. So yeah, I don't think he needs to be chasing them around at Auckland.
Yeah, he's in great form, isn't he, Michael? Interesting to think that he's not going to go to the Anzac Cup, Rowe Cup, but he just keeps on winning. What about the inspiration, I suppose, for want of a better term, Addington Raceway, changing it from the 4 and 5-year-old championship to the Lamb and Haywood Group 3 race? You got the return of Sunday's Sun. Heavyweight Hero was great in that race. Muscle Mountains there as well. Oh, and that Northerner that goes okay.
Yeah, interesting race for Bolt for Brilliance this week because I think he's been a length off his game so far in the North this campaign, not this season. He was great back pre-Christmas. So I spoke to Tony Hurley about it, and Tony's looking for his 1,000th domestic training success this week. Tony's taken him down hoping the trip brings him on, just settles his mind and gets him concentrating because he's been mucking around a bit up north. Sunday's Sun went to the trials at Rangiora last week, as you said, and we'll check out that trial now. This is him in the rain, so it's got pretty darn cold and pretty wet there. They didn't trot any time, but he started off 40 metres and he looped them, and he wins strong in his gait. Again, there's no hitching and mucking around. Through the line, he was good. He wasn't looking to have a gallop, so he looks at least as solid, if not more solid, than I've ever seen him, Greg. So he was good. American Pride's a pretty good horse who was running third there. So I think he's fit enough to win, Greg. It's a very tricky field, but he's flat out the best trotter in Australasia. We know that. So it's just a matter of whether he steps away, whether there's no traffic concerns, and whether he doesn't roll into a gallop, which he looks like he's not going to do, Greg. But Midnight Dash does have a lot of fitness superiority over him. Bolt for Brilliance, as I said, interesting time for him. By no means potting him. Just think he's going through a phase at the moment where he's not right mentally screwed down. And then there's plenty of other depth in the field, the One Apollos and the heavyweight heroes. Great race, Greg. If Sunday Sun comes out and just spanks them here fresh up, well, then everybody just shrugs their shoulders and says, what are we going to do for the free-for-all, for the Anzac Cup, for the Rowe Cup? Because we know he's the best. The question is whether he's still at that level for this campaign, and that trial would suggest probably yes.
Therefore, would you take the 220 on offer? That's where he sits, 350 Bolt for Brilliance.
I thought about that long and hard last night because he's a horse I've had a couple of decent bets on. I've had a couple of big four-figure bets on Sunday Sun this season. And I'm really confident to do so again. I have a theory. The horse is always most vulnerable at the first race of a campaign and the last race of a campaign. And this is a $30,000 race leading into, I think it's an 80, then another 80 and a 200. So you've got to wonder how stressed they're going to be. Because those fields at Addington, Greg, he could settle 10 lengths on the leader or 25 lengths on the leader through no fault of his own. It's just the way it works when you're off a handicap. And we've seen a lot of horses off handicaps so far in the last 2 or 3 months come back and get beaten. Bolt for Brilliance at Alexandra Park being one of them. So 220's close enough to the mark. I think because of the depth in the field, he won't shorten to his usual $1.60, $1.70. So there's no need to rush to take the overs. I thought about it and I'm reluctant to go, Greg, even though I think he'll probably win. Only because there's enough fit rivals here to step and run and drive against him.
Yeah, and Muscle Mountain's a $5 chance if you want to take the chance on him, and we know how very, very talented that he is. So, all right, just out of that race video we showed too, Splash Cola got a flat tyre within the first couple of 100 metres, so her performance to run fourth was actually pretty good, and you could forgive her not running in the money on that occasion. Let's move to the Neverley R Heat, which is race number 3. Here's a filly with a bit of breeding, Dream On Me, Michael, by Bettor's Delight, out of Splendid Dreams. I know she was only winning a class race, but she's got the breeding to be very good.
Look, I think she's pretty smart. I think she's arriving into a very, very strong 3-year-old crop on Friday night, and she's arriving without the benefit of a good barrier draw. So she's beating all right horses here and horses who will win their races in turn, but she's not beating Better Twist or even La Rosa, who comes into barrier 1 this week. Now, obviously nobody trusts La Rosa anymore, but she was really good at the workouts last week but not being pulled out. If they can get her to go away from barrier 1, she'll take a bit of beating. And Better Twist is alongside her in barrier 2, but doesn't have the gate speed to take advantage of that. La Rosa's the key to this race. If they decide, look, we're sick of you, we're jack of your behaviour, we're into you from the start, we're going to fire you up and keep you rolling, she can make it very hard for all of them, Greg. And I don't think Better Twist, who's open to $1.50, is by any means a good thing in this race. I think the short distance racing makes her vulnerable, particularly when a good horse leads.
Yeah.
So I hate myself for saying this, but I'm actually giving La Rosa a chance this week.
Oh, I am too. I'm with you.
Well, that's even worse. That's it completely buggered. It's now got 2 huge judder bars sitting between it and the winning post. But
yeah.
I just think if she leads, she gets her a chance this week. I love Better Twist. I think she's the best filly in the country, but I always think she's vulnerable pretty much anything below 2,000 metres, maybe even less.
Yeah, I have to concur there, but looking forward to that. Dream On Me, they should really dominate, although Bettor's Tart's already been a heat winner, of course, winning the conditioned heat out of Ashburton. That's a look at Addington Raceway, but to sum up the big 3, as it's being described, the Easter Carnival at Addington, I caught up with Darren Williams last Friday night to get his take on what's about to unfold. Darren, good night here at Addington tonight, but an even better big 3 coming up.
Yeah, the Golden 3, Greg, and Easter to remember. 2 premiers and Easter Saturday sandwich between them. 11 group races, 1.1 million in stakes, and we're just stoked to have the best horses here for those premiers.
Yeah, look, it all starts this week with the Vero Stakes, the Trotting Oaks with What the Hill, the Lamb and Hayward Trot, which will see the return of Sunday Sun, and of course Bolt for Brilliance is making his way down. And the free-for-all we've got, we'll have the Cup winner, we'll have a Miracle Mile winner, Self-Assured Spankham, Amazing Dream will probably be there, and the horses we've seen here at Addington tonight.
Yeah, just what we want for those big meetings. So, just massive nights, trackside dining available, bands and spectators after the races, just absolutely pumping and building to that last one, which is Diamond Creek New Zealand Derby night.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a moment, because sandwiched between the two, we've got one of the great races here at Addington Raceway, the Easter Cup over the 3,200 metres, and that's the 2-year-old trotting stakes night too.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've just seen Highgrove go round here, so some build up there. Some North Islanders hopefully will be down for that as well. It's not the huge numbers around at the moment, but some really classy young horses.
That final night, the 9th, is also United Fisheries Punters Challenge night, if you like. Kip Roskott-Zeka's getting in behind that. 3 Group 1s, a couple of Group 2s, and just a massive night here.
Yep, so go to addington.co.nz for the entry form there. $600 in punting money, $10 to the Maya Foundation, which is our charity of choice. We did that on show day as well. Free meal chucked in, couple of drinks, and just a great punting night. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yep, looking forward to that for sure in about 3 weeks. A couple of things that the trainers out there need to remember about the Oaks and also the Derby.
Yes, so the Oaks is closing on the 31st of March, exactly the same as the Derby, a single payment. So no sustaining payments, just one single payment, so you need to be in that on the 31st of March. And the same thing that we did with the Derby. So once we've taken that one nom, of course we have a fixed odds field open. So if you're not looking at starting in the Diamond Creek New Zealand Derby, we want you to effect a withdrawal. Not putting pressure on trainers to withdraw them, but if they're not going to start, take them out so that there's credibility to that market.
Really looking forward to the next month here. I know you are, and all the very best to you and the club.
Cheers, mate.
Still Majorca leads. Olive Cook, Reflections of My Life in Fancy. Emma Besser late up the lane. It's Majorca leading. Emma Besser flashing late with Olive Cook. Majorca, Emma Besser's coming. Emma Besser's going to score. Emma Besser beats home Olive Cook. Majorca 4th in Fancy.
Well, first of all, Jared, congratulations. That's a real milestone.
Yes, thank you, Greg. It was a great thrill. Yep.
Happened on a lowly Wednesday, if you like, an unusual Wednesday at Addington Raceway aboard Emma Besser, but big thrill. And I guess when you go back to where it all began, on the inside track at Motukarara, it's a few decades ago.
Yeah, it's 1982, I think it was. Yeah, Labour weekend, so yeah, it was a big thrill in those days.
Yeah, yellow ribbon, of course, for your dad. And I guess at that stage, Jared, 600 seemed an awful long way away. What were your early ambitions?
Oh no, just to drive winners. In those days you didn't get many junior drive races, so you had to make the most of when you come your way, and lucky Dad had a good team, a big enough team to support us, all us boys, to have a drive, so you're very lucky.
And now, of course, the family dynasty is being carried well and truly by Sarah. That's almost to you as important as your own winning drives, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's great that she's doing what she's doing, and couldn't be proud of her.
It happened here at Addington Raceway, the scene of your first ever Group 1 win, and the size, of course, with Tiger Tara, one of 3 Group 1s that you had, Michael Guerin. I guess it was appropriate that it did happen here.
Oh yes, the home of trotting in it, and always good to win a race at Addington.
Jared, one of the keys to your success, I believe, over the years has been your patience, and watching Emma Besser come up the inside and the patience you showed there was probably indicative of the way things have gone for you in your driving career.
Oh yeah, sometimes you get a rush of blood to the head and do silly things, but just try to drive the horse. She's a sit and sprint horse, so that's how you got to drive her, and the run worked out perfectly for her.
What about your own training? Got a nice team around you at the moment, all of them racing really well, if you say so. Striking Gladiator, Sweet Belle. I think I've just about got up to the 6 you normally have in work.
Yeah, and there's another really nice one, Rock and Roll Star. He's a lovely horse too, so that's the 4 racehorses at the moment, and a couple of 2-year-olds, and there's a few more coming later on, but yeah, that's just a nice number.
Here I was thinking you were doing a little bit of farming outside of that, but as we now know, Jane's got a wonderful job, and that basically funds what you do.
Yeah, you gotta have a good someone to look after you. So she looks after us great. She's a phlebotomist, and she works really hard, and plus runs the household and does all the bookwork and that. So lots without her.
Well, it's been a pretty good lifestyle on picking. You certainly always got a smile on your face, and we did on Wednesday as well, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, Greg.
Great to get an insight there from Gerard O'Reilly, Michael, as to what it meant to drive a 600th winner. But a couple of points there. He's as much loving the way Sarah's going and enjoying what she's achieving on the track as any wins that he has. And yes, he did mention that 3 Group 1s for him, all with Tiger Tara, the New Zealand free-for-all being the third of those off the back of his 2 big 3-year-old feature wins.
Yeah, my apologies to Tiger and to Gerard. I was writing a story last week for HRNZ and I completely forgot about the New Zealand free-for-all. It's only on free-for-all day and I was there, so it was nice of me to discount Gerard for that. What I'm not going to discount him for is 600 wins and doing such it's just a good advertisement for harness racing. Honest guy from an honest family of people who everybody has respect for in the game, and Sarah's now taking that name forward, Greg. So I don't think there's many people in harness racing who weren't happy to see Gerard get to 600. Whether he wants to stick around to get to 700, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, well, he's enjoying his driving at the moment and driving very well. He drove Imabesa to perfection. Speaking of stables in form, by the way, he only trains 6 horses, Gerard. He's got a lovely wife, Jane, and she really keeps the household going. But is Steve Telfer, Steve and Amanda, their stable is going so well. We got Michael Guerin to catch up with Steve on Tuesday night to get an insight into what makes him tick and why the stable's going so well.
Thanks for joining us, Steve. Great to get an update on how things are going for you and Amanda, your sister, with the new training partnership, mate. After today at Manawa 2, halfway through the program, 43 wins for the season. Do you have a target, Steve?
Yeah, look, we're pleased with the way the season's going, and we had quite a few numbers at the start of the year, so yeah, probably had a number of around 60 for the year. So I think we're going pretty well.
Is that realistic? Are you going to keep going until you get close to a number like that, or are some horses starting to train off? Because I've seen a few you've been bringing to Cambridge in the last 2 weeks who look relatively new. So I would suggest they've got a few starts and maybe a few wins at them, Steve.
Yeah, look, I think it is realistic, mate. A few of them have had a freshen up, halfway through the season, and they're racing well at the moment. So yeah, we've probably got a big team going for the next 2 months anyway.
Of the ones away from the BD Joes and the good horses, the ones we already know, what's a horse coming through with the box seat viewers watching out for?
Oh, definitely the 2-year-old filly Obsession. She won her first start 10 days ago, and she's in a size stakes fillies heat on Friday. And yeah, I think she's a filly that's got a fair bit of ability.
Okay, we're talking about numbers, so let's keep talking about numbers. How many horses are being worked on the property there at the moment?
Yeah, look, we've got 60 on the books. We're only doing about 42 at the moment, and we've got 30 yearlings.
Okay, so are they broken into separate barns? Like, are the people working the first 30 or 40, the racehorse type horses? Is somebody else doing the yearlings?
Yeah, we're getting Brent Donnelly breaks in a lot of our yearlings. He's breaking in a lot, and Matty Bowden's breaking in quite a few for us as well, and doing a preparation or 2 with them. So we've pretty much got the race team here of 42 at the moment, and just a few of our homebred yearlings that we've done ourselves.
You've been doing some upgrading. The other Steve's been doing some upgrading of the property. I believe there's a new barn there, and obviously you've got already a picturesque track. Is the place getting exactly how you boys and Jill would like it to be?
Yeah, look, it is. It's it's always a work in progress. You're always looking to update and move with the times a little bit. So I'm not saying there won't be more progression in time, but look, at the moment we're really happy. We've got a massive big barn all undercover, the big 10-horse walker undercover, and the paddocks and all that are really, really well organised and safe, and we've just got a good area to work from. Like,
Steve, what does most of the training consist of? I mean, there's the old school training, obviously the fast work twice a week, 1.5 miles and 3:15 stuff. There's interval training. There's obviously swimming and walkers training these days. A lot of people like to gallop them in the sand. How do you?
Yeah, look, mate, we do a bit of both. We gallop them. but we hobble them twice a week as well. So look, in normal circumstances, they normally have one gallop a week and 2 hobbles.
Okay, you've got a fast track there. Everybody is very jealous of your track out there in South Auckland. What's the quickest a horse can work around there? Like, what's the fastest you've had an 800 metres around your track?
Yeah, look, the visitors go a lot faster when they come on it than I do, Mick. But I remember Tony came over here with one day, and it ran some astronomical times. It got a bit pulling, I think. But Tim Butts had them running along here pretty good. Like they've run 54, 55 halves, but no, we don't do that all the time. We don't do that much at all, Mick. Yeah.
Let's talk about a very good horse who's had a very tricky summer. BD Joe heads to Addington on Friday night. Steve, he's in a proper race. We know he's good enough, but where's he at mentally after a bit of a roller coaster of him over the last couple of months?
Yeah, look, he he had a really good first part of the season, and he was thrown in the deep end a wee bit, but he handled himself really well. Over Christmas, he went through a real growing and immaturity stage, and he just weakened off a fair bit. So we put him out for a few weeks and down to the water walker down at Cambridge, and look, he's come back really good. I'm really happy with his condition. He looks a lot stronger, and his work's been really good. Things didn't work out for him in the Derby, but he ran a really good second last week in fast time, and he's travelled down well. I think he's still on the way up, but I'm very happy with him.
Okay, he's obviously a very good 3-year-old. You've got 2 very good 3-year-old fillies in the stable. What's happened to Enjoy Me? Because you won your first Group 1 for you and Amanda back on New Year's Eve, and not much seems to have gone right since.
No, look, she was in preparation for the Oaks, and she had a little training accident at home, and she kicked out and got her leg over the shaft, and she created herself a little bit of damage. Nothing that wasn't irreparable, but just the timing of it was bad, and we couldn't quite get enough into her before the Oaks came around. So and then actually in the Oaks she was pretty ordinary, and we had her scoped after, and Tim the vet said there was like he said, it was quite strange. He'd never seen it before, but there was a whole heap of shell in her lungs, and so she must have got a clot or something. So she was trying to cough that up during the run, and Tim said he hadn't seen much of that, that before. So look, she seems good now. She's had a wee freshen up. She's working down well. She actually trained really strongly this morning. I'm going to take her to the trials next Wednesday at Pookie, and then we're heading towards the Never the Are here at Cambridge on the 8th.
I take it Darling Me will be heading the same way?
No. Look, we gave her a bit longer out. She's already qualified for the Never the Are final, winning the first heat at Auckland. She had 10 days, 2 weeks out, and she's just really started working down now. So she's going to trial around the 10th and 17th of April, and then she's going to head down to Addington. There's a Never the Are heat on the 22nd there, and that's about 3 weeks before the final, and the Oaks the week after that. So I think that's that's a good build up for her, and we're actually really happy with the way she's been racing.
There was talk about a year ago when Amanda joined you in the partnership about potentially setting up a Canterbury base. Is that still likely and something you would see being used regularly?
Yeah, look, it is still likely. We bought Jack Smolenski's old farm there, and we don't fully take it over until the end of this year. So, but no, it's definitely still in the workings, and Amanda, my sister Amanda, she's quite keen to go down to Christchurch, where she spends a lot of time down there anyway, and she's quite keen to get down there and have some racing from down there.
Mate, you and the whole team at Stonewall have put a lot of time and money and effort into syndicating these horses, and you've had an enormous amount of people come forward. Roughly, I'm sure Jill's probably the person to ask, how many owners would you have involved with Stonewall Stud Syndicate?
You're talking about all the horses or just the syndicates, mate?
All the horses together, Steve. Let's chuck them all together.
Yeah. Look, there are a lot of owners. Like, a lot of people own just very small percentages, and that's the way that we've done it. Some people own big shares, but yeah, look, I think we had an open day here when we opened the barn, and there was near 200 people come out, owners that came out. So and they were everyone. Like all up. I'm only guessing, but I think there'd be sort of 400 or 500. Yeah.
Wow, it's a big number. I need to ask this tricky question. How do you communicate with that many people? Like, say, for example, on a given race night, if you've got 100 owners there, Steve, you can't talk to 100 different people. So whose job is that? How are they communicated with on a weekly basis? And is it harder training for that many people because everybody wants their piece of you?
Yeah.
Or, say, for example, than having 5 big owners?
Yeah. Look, it's definitely a lot of work, but Jill does a great job there with when she sets up the syndicates. She sets them up in owner catalogs and files, and when I do the emails to update them, they just really have to push a button and it goes to all of them. So Jill does a great work behind the scenes in the office and making everything easier for me. But race day, yeah, you certainly do answer the same question quite a few times during a race night, but that's just part of it. Some people know that have come into it, they know quite a bit about racing, and some people they don't know a lot about it. So you've just got to give your time and talk to them and go from there, mate. Yeah.
Mate, you got your first Group 1 as a trainer back on New Year's Eve. Do you have any aspirations, or is it even possible to win a premiership? Because it seemed like we had a total All-Stars domination till a couple of years ago. Then Robert Dunn has come along. Yeah. Good. Is it possible for the machine you guys are putting together?
Look, as it stands at the moment, I think the winning a premiership in the North Island is really very, very difficult, because just the amount of times we race compared to the race meetings per week down south. Same with the driving too. I think, if you look at the total amount of starters and drivers, the meetings down south, there's a heap more. But I suppose with Mandy going down there and setting up, and we're probably likely to have 2 sizable stables operating. So it probably gives you a chance, Mick. I wouldn't say it's an ambition, but it probably gives you a chance.
All right. So what is your ambition? You've won a Group 1, so you tick that off. And if the premiership's not something you're looking at immediately, what are you hoping to achieve out of this in the next 2 to 3 years? What are the goals?
Hey, look, yeah, well, first definitely was at the start of the year, definitely was to get a Group 1, victory. We've been close a few times, but never been able to get over the line. But, that was a big thrill. And yeah, look, probably just to kicking over the winners. I'd like to get to, I'd really like to get to 500 training wins, I think that's, I've always looked at that as quite a good achievement. We haven't been training for a long time, but in our own right. But yeah, that's probably one goal, Mick.
You've worked for some very good trainers. You spent a lot of time with Barry Purdon, a lot of time with John Justice. What's your key philosophy to training? What's the thing which the good trainers or the great trainers do, which you are now trying to imitate in the way you go about your business? What's the thing you've learned?
Yeah, look, everyone does things differently, and each trainer that I've been with, they do things differently, and there's things they do well, and, things that I've taken on board, and, definitely being so long at Barry's, he's definitely got a big influence on the way that, the way that I do things. I think it just the way Barry did things sort of sat well with me, and I resonated with it, and it's been successful. But with Barry, early on, I did a lot of travelling, and it's the people you stay with as well, Mick, on your travels. Brian Hancock. When we travel south, we stayed at Mark's, and then in Australia, all the good trainers you stay at different states. There was Ted Demler, and all those good guys. When you surround yourself with those guys, you can't help but pick up little things, and you've got to take it all on board and work. Just do what works for you, Mick.
Mate, thanks for joining us. We love the way that you guys are doing business out there, involving so many people in racing. We love the fact you're going so well and training so many winners, a lot of them at short prices, so the punters are clearly enjoying it, Steve. Mate, good luck for the remainder of the season to you, to Amanda, to Jill, and of course to Big Steve, the big boss. We'll call you Big Steve, mate. And we were hoping for getting forward from all of us here at the box seat.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
So Super Bass and Mr. Perfect Michael winning at the Manawa 2 on Tuesday evening takes them to 44. I did some calculations before. Steve wanting to get to 500 wins. I think he's on about 465 when he trained with Chris Garlick, and obviously training with Amanda now. So in a very short period of time, he's trained a heck of a lot of winners.
You always knew when he worked for Barry Purdon and for John Justice, he was going to be a good horse person in his own right. That was going to happen. But you still need the firepower behind you, Greg. And what he does have is obviously Jill, his partner, and Steve Stockman, who is the man behind Stonewall Stud. And this has been his vision for a long time. With that sort of team, and they're all smart people, so you've got intellectual people as well, so Jill can run the syndicates and keep them ticking over. When you put that together with a magnificent track, great facilities, they're not scared to buy horses. We saw them go to 300,000 for one of the yearling sales, and they purchased about 9 of the weanlings last year. You can just feel this building, Greg. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's not uncommon now to see a race at Alexandra Park, there's one this week, where they have 3 or 4 in a race. It's a bold prediction, but I'm thinking they've got a chance of winning the premiership in the next 5 years. It won't be an easy thing to do, because obviously they have to build that South Island base and hope there's 20 wins in the South Island, because Robert Dunn's managed to win the premiership, and those North Island wins are a big help. But I think they've got the people around them. They put a lot of faith in young Ben Butcher, and he's paid them back. They put good drivers on their horses. There's a lot to like about the way they're doing business when you hear how many owners they have involved. One of those winners was last week the Denny Johnston Waikato Guineas, and a long way from home, you could see this happening. Ladin had led, and Alta Wise Guy sat in that passing lane, and for the first time in his career, he got the right type of run and was just way too quick, Greg. And he's a horse who looks a 5-win horse without needing to improve too much as he starts to strengthen up. And there's just so many of these horses at Stonewall Stud, Greg. They're well bred, they are quick, they're well mannered, and you put them close to the speed in most races, they're going to be competitive. Yeah,
they went 240 there. It was start number 12, win number 1, but he'd run second on about 3 or 4 occasions and was miles overdue to get that, and you're right, got the perfect run there. They had success with Enjoy Me winning the Group 1 on New Year's Eve, and yeah, that will not be their only Group 1. I'm really looking forward to that set up in the South Island, purchasing the late Jack Smolensky's property, and them having an arm down here with Amanda. She spends so much time down here with their team anyway, so yeah, I just think I can't knock what you're saying, Michael. I reckon they've got a realistic chance as well, so that's something to look forward to there with the Stonewall team. And go to their website, have a look, and if you want to get involved in ownership, you could do far worse than that. They reckon their communication's outstanding, so do that. Speaking of Cambridge, or watching Cambridge there, it's not too far to the IRT Harness Jewels, and we're looking forward to it on the 6th of June. Some information coming out during the week from David Branch and the team there at Cambridge. Brilliant to showcase to our industry the great event to Cambridge and the Waipā community. They're looking forward to celebrating that after such a tough year. 2018, the last time they hosted it, they thought they raised the bar then, and the hospitality options that they got on offer for this year's IRT harness jewels have been enhanced. You just need to go to their website to check that out. They're thrilled to have IRT back involved, and you think about their commitment to the industry via this and also the IRT New Zealand Cup. Go to cambridgeraceway.co.nz/harness jewels for all of that info, which includes a golf day, Michael, on the Friday, the function on the Saturday night, with the races obviously being on the Sunday, which will allow all our thoroughbred friends to come along and enjoy the uniqueness that is the harness jewels. And there's something for everyone there.
Yeah, well, there will be if you hurry up.
Yep.
Because what's happened is they started selling these packages last Wednesday to owners and then to the general public last Friday, and half of them are gone. So if you want to go to the jewels, and I know you're watching this, and like me, you're probably lazy and thinking, I'll do that next week. Do it now. The marquee, the main marquee, which is next to the more marquee, next to the stand, is 50% sold out. So this is in 4 days. So it's going to sell out really quickly. So if you want to go there and have a seat, the other option is the Skyline upstairs, Greg. That's in the top floor. It's the glassed-in area. It's 60% sold out in less than a week. So there's no point watching this show and thinking, I'm coming up from Ashburton or Invercargill, we're going to go to Cambridge, have a great time, and you will. It'll be awesome. But if you don't book now, you're going to miss out. Yep. Now, the other option is the sports bar, the pop-up sports bar, which Brendan Popplewell hosted a couple of years ago. A lot of fun. Yep. Go there. It's only 120. It's not big money. But if you're not going to book, there's no point complaining, or worse, ringing poor David Branch in the last week of May and saying, David, can I have tickets to the races? That's not how it works. No. This is a proper event. They need to do it properly. Yep. So if you want it, you're a harness racing fan, if you're watching this show, book your tickets. Yeah, you can always sell them to someone else. There's always ways of getting rid of them if you can't get it done. And then they want the GA, the general admission, to be good, Greg, because it is a galloping town, a racing town, I should say, and there's plenty of galloping people who would usually be at Ellerslie. Because it's a Sunday, they won't be. So I would love to see our galloping friends come along and enjoy a really good day, because you're up close to the harness racing. The 4-year-old trot's going to be a magnificent race. The 3-year-old pace will be magnificent. It's a great day, and of course the next day is a holiday. Yep. So I'm not telling anybody off and giving you a lecture. I'm just telling you the truth, that if you want to go and get dressed up and have a big day, if you don't book your hospitality in the next week, you won't be going. Yep. You'll be standing outside, potentially in the cold. Yes. That's what we need. That's what we've gained already from those figures. It's going to be an enormous day, Greg, because a lot of people who might be overseas probably won't be. No. And this is going to be
just an event they need to go to.
Exactly. Yeah. It's going to be one of the winter highlights. I'm really looking forward to it. The Sunday doesn't bother me too much because the Monday's a day off. Yes. It would bother me if it wasn't. Not that I have public holidays anyway, but it would bother me a lot more from the public's point of view. Not a factor. So if you have a couple of celebratory beers along the way, you should be okay.
Yeah, should be fine. All right. Speaking of okay, some of the racing down south's been outstanding recently, and Plutonium Lady, well, she hasn't missed too many dances. She's been in the north, now she's down south, Michael, and she went 154.2 under her own steam here. Sam Motley, Mark Jones, 3 on the bounce for her 9th career win. And if you didn't know that it was Plutonium Lady, you'd be looking at her and going, is that Stylish Memphis?
You're right. She was that dominant and that good at Auckland too, beating Need You Now a couple of times. Look, she's got a claim to be in the top 5 mares in the country, which at times over the summer you wouldn't have put her in the top 20. So she's obviously got, a chance heading towards races like the Jewels and those sort of things, Greg. It's just a matter of whether she can hold this form. Sam Motley, it's so regular now to see her winning major races, it almost seems second nature.
Yep, really top performance from her, as was from Vintage Cheddar, who's been runner-up a few times in recent times behind the likes of You May Collect and Pembroke Playboy, but he was beautifully handled by very much informed Brent Barclay and just dashed to the lead here. Big runs from You May Collect, also from Pembroke Playboy, but this was his first win, Michael, since he beat Stylish Memphis on show day. They went 257.9. That made it almost impossible, well, it was really, for Pembroke Playboy to be able to pick up the ground, but he lost no admirers in terms of his run towards the Easter Cup. You May Collect is also coming to the Easter Cup. Got that confirmation from Kirsten Barclay yesterday, but all the plaudits there go with Vintage Cheddar. He's just a very good racehorse who deserved another win.
And a horse who's going to add to a New Zealand Cup. But we've mentioned last week on the show, we are losing a lot of horses offshore, but those 3, plus the Kangos and the Typos of the world, they're going to come in and slot him beautifully into those New Zealand Cups and Auckland Cups in the future. He's a good horse, and I like Alistair Black. I'm happy to see him have a really good horse he can take to New Zealand Cups. It was an odd race because a long way from home you were in trouble if you were on You May Collect or Pembroke Playboy, who actually galloped away and cost himself in saying it was off the back mark anyway. What happened was You May Collect was sitting second last and Pembroke Playboy was behind him, and there was no reason to move on You May Collect, who's a speed horse who had a hard run the start before, and that Pembroke Playboy couldn't pull out and go around him. That would have been silly. So they just sat there together, and Vintage Cheddar's just 3 pairs advanced on them and was just going to beat them an awfully long way from home. So as you mentioned, Brent Barclay drove him beautifully, but for the punters, it was one of those watches where nobody did anything wrong. You just sat there, Greg, and went, we're screwed.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened there. Disappointment out of the south. We've heard during the week that Nathan Williamson's lost his very good trotting mare in Dark Horse. She won 14 times. Here was her winning at Addington Raceway, beating Splash Cola, and she rounded her up really nicely here. 14 from about 32 or 33 starts and over 140,000. We never quite saw the best of her, Michael. She was Group 1 placed and behind Wilma's Mate in the Harness Jewels as a 4-year-old, when she was actually favourite for that race for a long time. Never like to see them go amiss, but she's had her injury worries throughout her career, and Nathan was absolutely gutted to have lost her in terms of a racehorse, but as he said, I'm looking forward to her progeny because he can see no reason why she won't leave a really nice racehorse.
Well, she was fast.
Yeah.
And fast horses often come from fast horses. So
Yep.
you put her to a Muscle Hill type horse and you're talking potential $100,000 yearlings. I know it's a long way to go and there needs to be a lot of legs put on the right way for that sort of stuff to happen, but people, when you say dark horse, they think speed. And that's a great thing to have, particularly in the trotters, because our breed's heading that way. So, yeah, I think she'll do a wonderful job as a broodmare. And yes, it is disappointing to see her go amiss, Greg, but she's 8.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like she's 3. She's had a pretty decent crack at it. I don't think she was going to win many bigger races than she's already won. So you would say how much longer would they have gone on anyway. So good luck to her connections in the broodmare paddock. Nathan's got plenty of firepower behind him to back it up. Chinese Whisper being very good winning down there last Saturday.
Yep, for sure. All right, we'll take a short break here on Your Box Seat. On the other side, we'll wrap it all up and let you know where you can go harness racing around New Zealand this week. In the home straight, in your box seat, let's have a look around the nation where we're racing this week. We are at Invercargill Thursday, 1:43 start time there, 10 race program. Looking forward to that one. The racing down there has certainly been very good lately. Big night, Addington Raceway, premier night, $25,000 guaranteed quaddies, the first and last quaddie. 5:10 the start time there, 11 races they do have in the Vero Flying Stakes and the What the Hill New Zealand Trotting Oaks, the two $50,000 features. Michael mentioned Alexandra Park. Gee, there's an excellent program there too. We've got a Magnus Benrose Sires Stakes heat, some really smart horses going around, including the likes of Typo, American Dealer and Kango. Looking forward to that clash. Sunday, Waimati, $13,000 there, 12:02 the start time. The 11 races there on the grass at Oamaru for the Waimati Club, and Manawa 2, 8 races there, 4:04. The Hawara Cup, $11,000 the go there. The hits and misses from the TAB, a few good bets landed, a couple missed as well. Lear was impressive first up at Winton, $3,000 at $1.90. Shut Up and Dance just keeps on winning, 3 from 3, $5,000 at $1.30. Regazo Max, someone followed me in there, $4,000 at $1.85 coming unstuck, and Better Believe It. I don't think it scored up at the Mott, $8,000 at $3.50. Another that missed. What about the door contracting bets of the week? I think Michael Guerin might be 3 or maybe even 4 on the bounce. His bet this week, Michael, you're with the Honey Queen, who was second in the Oaks behind Better Twist. I've gone with Typo in race 7. Go Forward, Todd Mitchell. I've gone to the old well, if you like, and got his insight into his best for the week. So I'm overdue to find a winner, Michael, so typo for me.
We all have those runs, Gregory, how sometimes things don't go the way you like them to. I think the Honey Queen coming out of the Oaks will probably jump to the front and dominate that race. Needs a new driver this week because Josh Dickey heads to the south to drive Mexicana. By the way, Winterfell's back. Trotter
Yes,
of the
see
year,
that.
back for new trainer Josh Dickey this week. He's also got KC and Paramount King in that race, so really starting to flex his muscle as a trainer of trotters in both islands this week.
Yeah, and a Team TL update. They got over $44,000. So congratulations to Harness Racing New Zealand for the fundraising for ovarian cancer. And they are just delighted to have got the figure to that number. So a big thank you to all of those people that got behind the Team TL promotion for 2021. That wraps up everything for your box seat. Really looking forward to this Friday night, both Addington and Auckland, exceptional meetings. On behalf of myself and Michael Guerin, from us, we'll see you in 7 days' time.